Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Against the Odds, a show where we believe that sharing information can inspire and can also transform. My name is Njiben Zama, and today we're trying something different. Getting out of the studio onto the location. We want to try this because we think that we would have a larger pool of guests. One, the COVID-19 is, although it's being relaxed, it's relaxing now. I think that people are still a little hesitant or reticent about, traveling and doing that. So we want to get to the source. So today we are in Michigan, Farmington Hills to be exact. We came all the way from Houston to Farmington Hills into this beautiful home. Our guests, I want to thank you for having us. I would let you introduce yourself and then we'll go from there.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much, Uncle Ben. My name is Marilyn Ngundam, and I am excited to be on the show today and to just give my own perspective.
Thank you very much. So, the premise of the show is, sharing our stories. Because we believe that although no two stories are the same, no two people are the same, we think that the experiences could be similar. Mm-hmm. So maybe your experience could help somebody out there. Maybe somebody out there is going through, I don't know, some maybe things you went through, mm-hmm. and by talking about it, somebody out there might learn something, mm-hmm. might be inspired by something you say to succeed in whatever they want to be. Mm-hmm. So I would like to start by asking you to maybe share a little bit about your upbringing, your growing up.
Okay. All right. So growing up, I really didn't think that much of my childhood as being, let's say, abnormal per se, or maybe a difficult childhood.
Where did you grow up? Let me start.
Okay. I grew up in Back Travelers. That's in Cameroon. Travelers or Back Travelers, they would call it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Back Travelers?
Back Travelers, or they call it Nintok 2.
Okay.
Yeah, in Nintok 2.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Just growing up.
Yeah.
How was the top like?
It was just the normal life, growing up in the neighborhood and doing things that every other kid does. Getting up in the morning, and either you have to go fetch water first in the stream before you get ready for school, and of course either you are trekking, mm-hmm. For like what? I don't know what I would say, those kilometers or whatsoever, but for maybe 30 minutes to 45 before you get to Government Bilingual High School, and you're all sweaty and everything, but you're tired, but you're still ready for your lessons. So it was just that typical kind of childhood, which you had to get into, do all your chores and everything like that. Mm-hmm. And yeah.
So was this a large family? You had a large family growing up, or?
Basically, so my dad only had one wife. He's of late now, and I have one sister and 4 brothers. So sort of, I would say, medium-sized family. Mm-hmm. But then my dad's side, it was a polygamous family, and my mom also, it's a polygamous. Her home was a polygamous family, so mm-hmm. it's a huge family with the distant relatives. Yeah.
Okay, so growing up, I know that our parents, plays a lot of emphasis on education. How was it in your household growing up?
It was the same, paying the same emphasis on education. But the one thing which I kind of look at is back home, it's not every African parent who had that opportunity to be educated to a certain level. And I feel like most parents back home, the majority, well, few of them were probably graduates from university and all of that. But there is a percentage which I would say were probably only high schoolers or uh, maybe they went to secondary school but never got through the advanced or ordinary level state. So both of my parents, they were not scholars, which I would say. So all of your schoolwork, yes, they wanted us to push through school, but everything else was all left on you to complete. So you know how a parent might have to help that child with homework and stuff like that. Well, a parent can only do so far as they know, right?
That is, I want to say that is a phenomenon, in the Western world, because I don't recall ever having any of my parents. Well, my father was a teacher, my mother was illiterate, so I don't recall any help at all from a parent, through my schooling. I think that phenomenon is only, like I said, only in the Western culture where parents are expected, to be involved in their child's education.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can understand where you're coming from. So, what was the motivation for you?
The motivation for me was the fact that I definitely knew that I wanted to be better and that I for sure don't want to end up where my parents at their level. So I wanted more. And that was my push in life. I wanted to be in a better place because I can vividly recall instances where I had to keep, I would say, meditate within myself that for God to send me a helper to kind of, just direct me so I can end up where I know that I want to be. So.
And where did you want to be, and how did that come about? What was the point where you would say, okay, this is what I want to be, and this is why I want to be, and how, you understand what I mean? What was the inflection point? What was the spark?
Okay, so I don't know if I understand the question well, but
The question, okay, let me reframe it, because you wanted to be better. What was the spark?
okay. I wanted to be better because, like I said, my mom and dad, they were not scholars. And I wanted to be able to give my own children, what I did not receive, which will be in the likes of, okay, helping them with their schoolwork, being there with them, as I do feel like most African parents, we don't, it's not that we don't love our kids, but we have a different way of kind of showing it as opposed to like the Western cultures, which you would either have to sit with your children and maybe talk to them like you're having a conversation and not you necessarily being that authoritative figure like I am the parent, you do what I tell you, and not necessarily like conversing with your kids so that they know when they grow up they would have some sort of a mentality of well-roundedness, I would say well-roundedness, because the way we grew up, it was this in a way as though that we are only taught to, you can think within yourself, but don't voice it out. Just keep it within and keep moving. So, yeah. So, the point was that I wanted to be a better parent. Not that my parents weren't great. I just wanted to be a better parent, and the life where I grew up in, and being that you're not a scholar, and with jobs hard to come by in Cameroon, and so my dad really never had an occupation per se. Like, he could do multiple things, but he didn't have a single-handed profession where you would say he gets a steady stream of income and stuff like that. And my mom herself, she was a homemaker. Even though before, I would say we lived in Douala before. We moved to Bamenda, so she used to be like a trader, and she was doing good there. But when we moved to Bamenda, she couldn't do any of that. So again, that's no stream of income coming in. So life was sort of tough. I would say it was tough. It was tough, and
I can understand.
I can't.
That's-
Yeah. So
Now, growing up, did you at what stage did you know what you wanted to do in your life?
I definitely knew that I wanted to do something helping people.
Okay.
Okay, it can be in the medical field, not necessarily a doctor. Yeah, so but then moving to America and looking back to today, I don't know if there is something else that I would have done if I wasn't a nurse. I feel strongly that way, that there's nothing else that I would have functioned within better than doing what I'm doing.
Okay. At what point? And I know every child's dream is to, do better. Now, you obviously chose America. Why was that?
Well, I didn't really choose America.
America chose you?
It chose me because then my dad was here. I guess the whole family had to follow.
Oh, your
him.
dad was in America?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
that's wonderful.
So
Okay.
he, at some point, he moved to America, and then we followed him, and he decided to move back to Cameroon because he was tired of the life in America. And then he had a car accident, and he passed away.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. Okay. Yikes. That is difficult to segue into the next question, but I'm going to ask because, the whole point is telling a story from where you were to where you are right now, and maybe the challenges you face. And that's probably one of them, I would say, one of the most difficult challenges to deal with the loss of a parent. I think so. So, how did you succumb? How did you, get through that?
I wouldn't really say.
Not getting through in the sense that, that's something that could be put aside. No. In the sense that, yes, you're going through, at your stage, at one stage, you're going through, working towards your future, and that setback occurred. Now, most people, I would say some people may not be able to, overcome that challenge and either stay stuck or maybe regress, but you were able to, go through that and, move forward. So, what are the kind of things that you did or that got you through that um, stage?
I think one of the things that kind of got me through, I would say, was the notion that I'm a Christian, and I do know that there is a time when we are all born, and none of us are certainly gonna last. So that was a point where I had to accept that, yeah, he's gone, and it is all a normal part of life that we all have to face at one point. But the one thing that was difficult was the notion that he died during a time when none of us could go. So we never saw him. That's me, my siblings, and my mom. We were all here, but we didn't have the documents to travel. If we traveled, we probably would have been stayed in Cameroon and won't be able to come back. So we couldn't make it there, and he was buried. And till today, I haven't been back. So that's one part of closure which I definitely need to do. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to
It's okay.
hear that.
It's okay. Oh,
You have a tissue?
I am okay, and I usually don't have to think about it, but I guess when you take a step back and think about it, then all of those emotions
Absolutely.
start coming.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Well, so today you are a nurse practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like, the process of becoming a nurse practitioner?
It wasn't easy. It wasn't definitely not easy because when we got here, you have to start from scratch with taking all your prerequisite courses and everything. So you need to be level-headed and kind of focused to get through it. But so one step at a time.
Okay.
One step at a time, I took it, and thank God I finished with my head still on top of my shoulders. But one thing that kind of, I wouldn't say it haunts me, but from time to time, which I think, it's just kind of sad. It saddens me because I am a nurse and I take care of people. And when my dad passed away, I was at work. I was at work when I got the call. Well, I didn't get the call per se. I called my brother back in Cameroon, and he was just talking to me like it was just something normal. And he had a car accident, and
Can we have a tissue, please?
he had a car accident around, was it Alwyn Road? And the story we got was he got out of the car and he died. He died right on the spot. And what breaks my heart is that I am a nurse. And back home, thank you. Back home, those are things that we kind of we shy away from, or everybody just stands around you and watch you die. Which that's something where a simple CPR maybe could have saved him. And taken him to the hospital where he would have been alive today. But again, we don't know, right? But those are one of those things that I am hoping that Cameroon gets to the level where people can get involved in the life of strangers, even without knowing them, and without that fear of thinking that, oh, this is a stranger. What do I have to do to get on that stranger and start pumping at their chest or giving them a mouth to mouth breath and all of that? So I'm hoping that we get to that point one day. That was the most hurtful thing for me, knowing that that could have done for him, and it has a potential to would have saved his life, but it was never done. Rather, we were told people were just gathered as he laid down there.
I hear your point, in that we hopefully will get to a point where we realize the importance of CPR. Do you think it's because we're unaware of the, you know, we don't know CPR? Is it because the population is not aware of that?
One, I would think that yes, maybe, because then I am not sure if there are centers back in Cameroon or Bamenda per se that will offer that as a free resource to anybody in the community who is willing to learn. Um, if there isn't, then definitely nobody knows about it. Or if there is, I don't know if they do carry like health sensitization occasions in different schools where the youth population can definitely be made to know that those things exist, and it is worth life saving to every family, because it can happen to anybody and you can save your family. So I think that maybe it's a combination. It could be there, but it's not free for everybody to get, and why would somebody want to go pay for that? Yeah. And then also the notion that I wouldn't want to say we don't care about human life back home. I think it's just I don't know how to put it. Just the notion that people don't know what's going on with you, so they want to stay away. Just so if it's somebody or contagious in some way, it doesn't get transferred. I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of phobic or none. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we get there. But maybe not just hoping. Maybe it's something that we actually have to actively, cultivate.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's something that we actively have to, make sure that it's done, and by participating in such activities to be able to educate the masses.
Yeah.
That is not only that's just one of the taboos, one of the things, not a taboo per se, but one of the things that we can say happen at home, that's different from here. I mean, we can say that because we have seen both sides. And so we can be able to compare and contrast and see what's lacking and what can be done to fill those voids. You practicing, your family practicing, family nurse practitioner. So in your practice, what are the kind of things that you have noticed that you can compare and contrast and come out with, a different view of how the two cultures, are different?
Okay. The biggest thing which I would say is that sense of accountability. Knowing that you are doing the right thing even when nobody is watching you. Because there's been not one and maybe two, but not just two, but maybe some other instances which I'm probably unaware of, My grandfather went to the hospital after falling severely in Cameroon, and I would think that standard of care would be to order certain things that to make sure that he didn't have like an injury to his head or maybe broke a hip or stuff like that, and nothing was done, and he subsequently passed away. And another instance was my grandmother. She went to the hospital with significantly elevated blood pressure. And I tried on several occasions to maybe talk to the doctor um, or maybe a nurse back there to know exactly what the plan was and what's going on. Nobody wanted to talk to me. And I recently, it's going to 11 months now, had my little cousin. I'll call her my sister because we live together. She recently passed away, leaving a 3-month-old baby, and because she went to the hospital and was given the wrong blood group. And she did have a history of sickle cell, yes, but then she ended up passing. So those are all things that I feel like there's no much of accountability back home, that you can do whatever you like as a medical professional back there. And even if a life is lost and nobody pays for it, not necessarily that nobody pays for it, but maybe looking at what happened as a teachable moment where they can kind of prevent such from reoccurring again. But I don't know that that ever happens, and that's one thing that is very different over here, that sense of accountability and holding each other accountable, making sure that um, the right thing is done to save lives. Yeah.
Seems like it's a major problem, not only in Cameroon but all over Africa. Accountability for medical, you know, professionals, malpractice, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Culturally, are they any? That's one. Yeah, I'm sure there are many that you have noticed. Is there any other one that you think of that we can, you know, what do you think can be done?
What do I think can be done? One thing which I would say, of course, there's several different things that can be done, but one I would say, you don't go into being a medical doctor or a nurse just for the name of it. You go into it because you want to save lives, you want to make a difference in the way people feel, and you want to be part of watching somebody from their lowest and seeing them transform to a new person, a better person, right? And but sometimes it makes me feel like the doctors back in Cameroon, they kind of feel like they are the
Gods.
god. Okay, they are the god, so you come to the hospital, you just got to do whatever they say, and maybe there is even lack of communication between the doctor and the patient as to what your diagnosis is. So how do you expect your patient to get better or take care of themselves if you cannot even explain to them what's going on with them in clear terms so they understand, so they would be able to make the necessarily life changes that will make them better? So I feel that the doctors back there, they need to know that it is a patient-centered kind of approach.
Mm-hmm.
It is you working with your patient and not just you, the doctor, being paternalistic and imposing on them. Um, what else can I say? Yeah.
Are there other issues? I know that a lot of one issue that I think that the differences between the cultures One of the things is mental health. Do you deal with mental health patients here?
Oh, a lot.
Okay. So what would you say are the things that you see with the mental patients here and how we approach mental health?
So I'm going to kind of dig back into how I sort of got into mental health. You know, I believe that when your purpose or the path where you're supposed to end up at, um, you are slowly going to get into things that will kind of make that all come to light. Um, so when I graduated as a nurse practitioner, I kind of found myself in between jobs. It's like I was journeying towards something. Um, and then at one point, I started feeling like, but why do I keep moving from one place to another? It makes me kind of start to question or kind of second guess myself. But I had to take a step back and say, but wait a minute, I'm not going to second guess myself because I know exactly who I am and what I can do. And I know my limits and I accept where I cannot function or move further. Um, than that. And I definitely knew what I wanted. So I'm like, okay, I'm moving because I know exactly what I wanted. And until I get to that place, I guess I'm going to keep moving. So I found myself working in a mental health hospital. And it is from there that I think it was already in me. So it kind of just felt right to be there. I guess I was there at the right place at the right time to kind of, it did not start my feelings about dealing or taking care of mental health people, but it sort of just pushed me more higher and opened up more um, ways of my thinking. So I saw young children as young as 12, going through crisis and suicidal thoughts and attempts and all of that. And there were older adults too in there. So it got me looking. I'm like, those adults, they started having issues when they were as young as those people. The as young as the youngest, who were 12. And I was like, where does it end? There is no end in sight. But I definitely know that there is a way out because they get discharged from the mental health hospital today. And next week when I come back, I see the same name. I'm like, wait a minute, was this person not just here? Yes, they were on their back. And so what are they doing? It's just medication upon medication, but the medication, it's a revolving door because you take the medication and then you're back. So there's definitely something that's missing that needs to be addressed. And unless that is not addressed, it's just going to be a revolving door. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was getting at is, the differences how
Yeah, back
the
home.
two cultures see
The
mental illness.
Yeah. Back home, being that I was young when I left from back home, well, I won't say that young. I left when I was 20. But the one thing which I would draw parallels with here is that nobody ever talks of mental health back home. At least when I was growing up, I never heard anybody say I'm sick because I have a mental health problem. No. We knew of the mad people running the street. We call them crazy people. You can see them being chained from one place to another or taken to a witch doctor thinking that they've been bewitched. Or it's some uncle or auntie somewhere that did something to them, or the people themselves, they were involved in some shady kind of occult or whatever, and that made them crazy. So that's the notion which we have back home. And I don't know if people don't want to talk about it, it's because they don't want to be labeled that stigma as being mentally ill. Yeah, so we don't talk about it, and definitely it's not because it's not there. I think it's the way that we just grew up back home, we said earlier. We grew up to be quiet, about certain things. Don't say it, and it is our life experiences that place us in having like a mental health illness. And there is for sure a lot of life experiences back home. It's no different than here, which can be traumatic childhood occurrences. You know.
So what could be some of the causes of these mental illnesses?
So some of the causes, it can range from, like I said, traumatic events. You can have emotional problems.
Okay.
Okay, like if you are in a dysfunctional home where maybe your dad drinks a lot and he goes out drinking and comes back and there's a fight, always a fight in the home. So that's a dysfunctional home. And you as a child, you grow up only knowing your parents to be screaming back and forth at each other. And so you grow up at the point those voices, they stay in your head, and it creates an imbalance where yes, you grow up in a dysfunctional home, and that can be disturbing to you at one point where it can place you to have a mental health crisis. You can have people that have traumatic events from possible rape, which that's another thing which we don't talk about back home because you don't want your life to be associated as that person who was raped and all of that. And it can be also you just lost a job, and losing a job, it is normal for you to be sad that you lost your job. But at one point, it can become overbearing where if you don't kind of let go out of that phase and transition into, okay, moving into better things that can get you a different job, it can lead to you having anxiety, depression. Yeah, you can be in an abusive relationship. All of those things where you are being emotionally, psychologically, and physically abused, it can all lead to mental health problems.
Now, the thing that I think about, I've experienced some of those issues you're talking about. But the thing I look at when I look at both cultures is back at home, are we aware? Is there an awareness that those kinds of issues, those kinds of experiences lead to, are we aware that those kinds of issues lead to depression? And are we aware of depression? Is that something that you think we are?
I would want to hope that being that we are in a more advanced world that people would know. But again, it's not just something that we can hope for. We would want to move forward with it, and that's why at every instance where I am chanced to, I love to talk about it so more and more of our people can learn that there is something called mental health, which is like every other mental condition. But that's something where I have actually thought of it as well, that probably the sensitization, people don't know about it, because then if you know about something, right, then you're not going to want to lock yourself up with it or kind of shy away from it. So one, we are not that sensitized to it as a medical problem in itself.
Okay.
We think of it in a different light of, okay, it's witchcraft, or it's something else, but not considered a medical problem. Or some people, you don't want to be looked at as being weak to talk about something. Somebody tell somebody that, oh, I'm depressed because I lost my job, or I'm depressed because my husband or my wife verbally abuses me or physically hits me and stuff like that. And those are things that are rampant. Those are things that are going through, and people have just sort of normalized it back in Cameroon as, oh, my husband verbally abuses me, that's okay. Or,
So do you think that only happens in Cameroon? I'm assuming that in Cameroon, not a lot of people have that awareness. Now, granted, the Cameroonian community is huge in the U.S. Do you think that's a phenomenon with with the population here in the U.S.?
I would think that some of us here, being that we've been exposed to and we are aware, but there is still maybe that notion of no way, not with Africans. For example, when something happened, I think there was a Cameroonian who jumped off a building. Was it in Australia or in one European country? And another Cameroonian brother verbalized, we shouldn't start talking or telling Africans that they are depressed, for there is no such thing, given the life which we have gone through back home. And I was like, what? Yeah, so
I remember that story because I talked about it.
to me, I don't know, I would call that ignorance, just because the very life which you're talking about that we went through in Cameroon, those are all anxiety and depression um, causing life experiences. So we are not immune to it. We are not. Nobody is. It can be you, it can be me, it can be anybody walking down the streets. So we definitely are not, especially with the life which we went through back home. It's a tough life. And if you transition that life to some of the Westerners here, those are all things that are putting them in their depressive state. So do you think we are any better? No, we're not.
How do you think we can turn that around within the community here in the diaspora?
Turning it around would be knowing that just because you have anxiety about a job, or just because you're feeling sad and down and hopeless, it doesn't mean that you are less of a man than you are or less of a woman than you are. It is something totally different. It is a disconnection within your body which needs to be addressed so you can function properly. Um, and depression or anxiety is not just a thing of the mind. Our body systems are connected in every way possible, just like the tree that we see here or any tree out there. There is a source from the soil. It depends on, okay, what is that soil feeding up to? What's the nutrients? What's the water? How is it connected between that trunk into the leaves and the branches of it? And if one thing is disconnected within one part, what happens? The whole body is in disarray. That is all mental health. It is, okay, what is going on within your immune system. It is what is going on within your endocrine system, your gastrointestinal system. It is the biggest right there, because we as Africans, we don't, I think most Africans will say, oh no, I don't have an allergy to anything. And the biggest problems with mental health issue is food sensitivities and allergies. Yes. Because your stomach, there is a pathway within your stomach and your brain called the brain gut axis, which if you eat something that your system is sensitive to, it kind of creates loose junctions within your stomach, and that's how bacteria and parasites or the seep into your bloodstream and start causing inflammation there. And it's that inflammation that gets transferred back into the nerves in your brain, giving it a different message, and you start having anxiety. You start having depressive symptoms, and that same disconnection between your stomach and inflammation and stress, it affects your thyroid gland and your hormones, and it's all connected. So they need to figure out where there is a disconnect so that you can be yourself. It's not a thing of the mind.
So how would I, individual, know that I'm going through that and this is what it's leading to or could lead to? How could individuals know? They could be going through it and don't know that they're going through it, that they have it.
Okay. So if you get to the point where, so there are a large variety, it's a broad topic when you talk about mental health, because it can be as minimal as just say, oh, I have some anxiety there, or I'm minimally depressed, or to the severe extreme, you can have bipolar, which it's a mix of you being depressive, or you're manic, or having psychosis, or having schizophrenia. Those are the extremes of it. So if you are anxious, you're having anxiety, it's like, okay, I can't breathe. I cannot breathe. You start having chest pains. It can be for something that's obvious, yes, but it can also be for nothing at all. But you are just anxious, you can't breathe, you're feeling like your chest is tight, you are feeling like your throat is about to close up. I've had people go to the emergency room because they felt they were having a heart attack. It was all anxiety and panic attack. You cannot step out of your house because you're anxious. So that's all anxiety. And with that, you can get running stomach, where you go to the bathroom, you can't even go. It's all your nerves. That's anxiety. And depression, people with having depression, it varies from person to person. Your symptoms might be different from mine. You may just be feeling really down. You can't get out of your bed at all. You are feeling sad. You are feeling hopeless. You are even feeling guilty about maybe some life event which you think it is your fault.
Right.
Yeah. And then you are feeling like you're better off gone than being here. That's all where it can lead to. And it is not just everyday sadness, it transcends. It is like, oh, there is a veil which has just covered you entirely and you cannot shake it off.
You know, we started talking about you growing up, and now we ended up with this broad topic that affects a lot of people who may or may not realize or know that they're going through issues, which I think it's a great topic. I think it's a topic that needs to be discussed more. That people need to be aware and open to help. I want to say that. I say that because personally, I did go through it, and initially, when I was actually diagnosed, with depression, I did not accept it. I did not accept it until much later. I did accept it much later, and then dealt with it. So, and I think I'm not alone within our community. I'm not alone. I'm sure there are many other people out there who probably went through what I went through, but did not accept it.
Yeah.
What is it that we can do as a community to be able to change that mindset?
Again, as a community, I would, it's just building that support for one another, knowing that I can come to you and talk to you about something, and I will be listened to and heard, and not pushed back against and say, come over here, how you fit talk that kind of thing? Ah, wait till you dey even talk so. You come on na Cameroon, you strong. Na, wait till, yeah. Just listen, just talk, and nobody talks back at you. Sometimes with mental health issues, anxiety or depression or whatever you have, it's just you needing somebody, a listening ear, who would listen to you talk. Because most of the time, it is all things that we have bottled up from not wanting to talk about or um, voice out, that leads us to where we end up being in crisis or in a mental health state. So we need that support where you can just go and vent and not be judged and just listen to. And if that person can give you a great advice, that's wonderful. We need, as a community, I think that's something that we need to know, that it's not weakness. We are not, it's not craziness. There's no shame in you admitting that there's something wrong with you so you can get the help that you need. It's just to be supportive.
Okay,
Yeah.
that is wonderful. Well, that is one, reason why we thought that this platform could lead to help people, bring people together, have people talk about the issues, and by so doing, getting the help that they need, or maybe helping someone else out there. So, and that's why we run the show, and I really want to appreciate you for taking the time, accepting us into your home, listen to us, or talk to everybody. And I hope that somebody out there could listen to your story and be encouraged. Be encouraged that yes, you're going to face obstacles, but there are ways and how to overcome those obstacles and still achieve what you set out to do.
Definitely, definitely. And one thing that I would say is, in life, where you end up, it's, I would say, 50% of what happens to you. It's 50% of your life experiences. It is 50% of what you have gone through. But where you end up at the end is no longer as a result of the things that happen to you, not at all. It is as a result of how you decided to deal with those things that happened. It becomes a choice. We have a choice to be buried by our experiences, or we have a choice to stand tall and blossom out of it. So where you end up is no longer as that traumatic life event, that abusive relationship. It becomes that plus how you dealt with it. So I would encourage people to choose to deal with it positively, just so it doesn't follow them through into their lives. So leave all of those experiences where they belong. Don't carry them along with you, because they will be too heavy for you to carry.
Profound.
Yeah.
I don't think I have anything else to add to that. I think we'll just leave it at that. And like I say, hope that it encourages somebody.
I hope so too.
Thank you again for having us. And
Thank you.
You're
Thank you
very
for having
welcome.
me.
And folks, thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, share, and above all, leave some comments. Let us know what you think about this particular episode and this format. We'll be very happy to hear what you think, and that, we think that will help us to move forward. Thank you again.